Welcome back, engineering students. Let's take a look at more skill building here on problem number 3. Our job is to create a U-shaped pipe with the shell feature. And yes, we are exploring threads in this video, in fact. So yes, we're going to use a sweep and a shell and take a look at threads. So it says the following image will guide you. OnShape does offer external threads in ANSI standard sizes. However, they don't appear in the Part Studio. You can only get them to show up when you're making a multi-view drawing, and you can also use the hole and thread notes to give the specific thread notes for the object. But they don't show up and they don't really 3D print at all. And so it's not super useful. However, we can get around that by applying a helix coil. So that's what we're going to do on this particular activity. Let's head over to OnShape, and we're still in that same 2.2.5 file. Let's add a Part Studio. And what we are creating is this U-shaped pipe. So on my front plane, I am going to make this shape kind of like starting the paper clip. So right here on the front, let's go ahead and sketch. And I'm going to use a line to begin with, and I'm going to start on the origin like I often do. And so this ends up looking something roughly like this. Now, of course, we will add a curve, an arc, 3-point arc on this end. We'll make sure it centers up. Okay, and then we'll even get rid of this and that. So that looks great. What else is there? Well, there are some dimensions for us to apply. So let's go ahead and set the distance between these two things as 1.95. So we'll get that in there, 1.95. That sets that up nicely. And then we have some lengths, 2.060 from here to here. And lastly, 2.31 from here to here. All right, so that sets that up, and then this is not currently dimensioned, but I'm pretty sure we can't change it to anything else. So if you apply the dimension, it's kind of driven, and it does turn everything black. So yes, we do know that is in fact the case. So next up, we do need to create that circular profile on the end to sweep, just like the paper clip. So if we look closely at this section view, they are showing us the outer diameter is 0.375. So let's go ahead and finish up this sketch, and then on this perpendicular plane, so this time being the right plane, that's where we're going to put the circular sketch. So there we go, and the dimension for this was 0.375 for the diameter. All right, and now we're ready to sweep this using that circle and the sweep path, and sure enough, we will have to click on each individual part. So we do have the U-shape bar at this point, and we do need to create the shell portion of it, right? So we need this all to be hollowed out, and looking at the thickness here, right, we have a diameter dimension for the exterior, and we have a diameter for the interior. So if I look for the shell feature, it's up here. Shell creates a thin-walled part by removing one or more faces. Specify the wall thickness for the remaining faces. So I'm going to go ahead and click on shell, which is another word for hollowing out. And I'm going to click on these two things, and the thickness needs to be just from the one diameter to the other. So here's how I'm going to make that happen. So 0.375 was the bigger diameter, minus the 0.27, which was the smaller diameter. And because it's all about the thickness, it's just on one side. So I'm going to divide by 2, because it's really based on the radius then, instead of the diameter. So that is the proper dimension. And sure enough, it has hollowed out the entire tube, or the entire pipe, through both ends. So that looks great. If you're ever questioning, like, did my operation work, you can choose a camera option or a render option called section view, and you can select a plane, and then you can drag to like cut. It's a way to make a section view here in the middle of your Part Studio without having to make a full-blown multi-view drawing. So that's kind of one fun thing to make sure that, yeah, it really did hollow out this whole thing. So everything's good there. I'm just going to red X to exit there. Okay. So what else are we in charge of doing on this? Well, it looks like we need to apply some threads, exterior threads, on the bottom piece. Yep, sure enough. And then some interior threads on the top piece. So yeah, just to explore how to make threads that are not just a part of a random spring or a coil. So the good part about this is that a circle is already present. So we don't have to make a circle feature. I can just click on helix and click on circle. Make sure to change the tab to circle and then pick that circular edge. And then the helix is showing up on the outside. So I can set this to be however far on the pipe it should be. I can set the target revolutions if I want it to be super tight threads, like let's set it at 10, right? That's a tight twist. Okay. And then that looks great, but one thing we have to be able to do is to put a circle on the starting point of this helix. Now, that plane that I want to put it on needs to be running parallel to the bottom or top plane, and that's where I need to put my circle. So I'm going to need to create an offset plane from the top plane. So if I click on plane, and yep, make sure it's checked as offset, the offset distance, and this is one reason why it's so important to always start things at the origin, is because I know that that distance is what I set it as 1.95 when I made the U shape. So 1.95 for my offset distance, and I need it to go the other way. So there we go. And now it's going to go right through the center of the bottom part of this pipe. And now I can place a circle on this plane. So I'm going to spin this thing around to look here because I'm pretty sure, well, where's the start of that? Okay, there it is. Okay, so that's where I'm going to put my circle. All right, and again, just set it to be small enough that it can make itself. It doesn't really matter the size because we weren't told a specific size. And so we can see how perpendicular that is to the helix. And now we can hit sweep and we can choose the circle profile, choose the sweep path, make sure we get the helix selected and add. Yep, because we are adding the material. I don't know if you need the merge with all. It didn't seem to actually do anything. If you need it, click it. If not, don't worry about it. And so here are some threads. Now, of course, it's not perfect, right? But at least it's visible. At least it's visible, right? If I go through and suppress this so you don't see it, I'm also going to hide that sketch, or the helix rather. If I just wanted to put threads in this, there is a thread feature. There's a thread feature. It's right here, external threads. So it doesn't even imply that you can do internal threads. Yep, I can click on this and look, it doesn't even look like anything. Like ANSI standard, 3/8, 16 threads per inch, half an inch long. It doesn't even look like anything. So it's super disappointing because it's not visible. So that's one reason why, yep, I like just being able to see these things. Okay. So not perfect, but decent. So yeah, that's the look of the external threads from our piping there. All right, what about the internal threads? Can we do this same type of thing there? Well, let's zoom in, and this time instead of picking the outer circle, let's choose helix and select the inner circle. Again, make sure you select circle. Okay, so this helix is going the wrong way, opposite direction this thing. Let's make it 0.25, let's say, and let's do 8 revolutions, so super tight. Okay, so that looks really good. Just like before, we kind of need to find a starting point of this helix, and we might actually need to hide, basically hide our part so that we can actually see where this helix is beginning. So I'm pretty sure we can activate the top plane again, and since we started on the origin there, yep, that looks perfect. So we're going to make our circle on that top plane and just make sure that we start the circle at the start of the helix, not on the origin itself. All right, so make it small enough that it can create itself. That looks great. I'm going to view my part again. Okay, so there she is. And let's see. When we go to sweep this time, we're going to remove material. So we're going to use that circle. We're going to sweep it along our helix path. So activate helix path, or you can select it from over here. And yeah, let's go ahead and click that. So it does create threads, right? It does create a cut on the inside by removing that material. And yeah, it looks kind of weird, especially at the start. But you know what? That's pretty good, especially since, you know, it won't even do other threads. So that looks great. You can also experiment with different shapes. You don't have to use a circle. If you want it to be a different shape, you certainly could. But that's the idea behind applying some threads. So if you're using that in your ink pen creation, don't feel like you have to like assemble things like perfectly. Like if you have an estimate and you make it look appropriate, that's pretty good. That's going to work pretty well. So that's the scoop on that U-shaped pipe and some threads.